This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Hey, what's up? Let's talk about your hot takes. I did videos about Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter this week. So there's a lot of hot takes in the comments. I'm trying to boil this down to about 5 or 6 hot takes so I can give each take a proper response. Taish says specialty players don't make it on offense because when they are in the game, everyone knows that they're going to get the ball. Hunter is not close to Deion, and he couldn't play both sides at 55 years old. I have yet to see an effective two-way player in the NFL. Well, there have been effective two-way players in the NFL before. It's the question of, can Travis Hunter be effective on both sides of the ball in the same way he was effective in college? And look, this is the thing with Travis Hunter, and this is why I think Travis Hunter is a polarizing prospect, because what Travis Hunter is trying to do has not been done in the way that Travis Hunter is trying to do it before, right? And I think the commenter is right on it. He's never seen somebody be what Travis Hunter is trying to be in the NFL. Usually it's somebody like Jabril Peppers, who is a okay running back at Michigan, but a really, really good high quality safety in the NFL. No real question about what position he's going to play in the league, right? Like that's usually where we sit with two-way players, Miles Jack. But therein lies the key difference between everybody else who has tried this and Travis Hunter. Because one of the key differences here is that Travis Hunter was not a specialty offensive player at the University of Colorado, like Jabril Peppers and Miles Jack, the guys we mentioned before, were specialty offensive players. He was a full force, full-fledged, and the best offensive player on Colorado's roster. He was the best defensive player on Colorado's roster. What makes Travis Hunter special and worthy of this conversation of using him on both sides in the NFL is because he wasn't a gadget, right? He wasn't just a gimmick on one side of the ball in college. He was the Biletnikoff Award winner. You see how that carries a different connotation than simply he gonna do some trick plays in the NFL. I agree that if your view of what Travis can do on the other side of the ball falls in that gimmicky kind of traditional lane that we usually throw guys like this in, then I worry about your team's ability to be able to maximize him. But if somebody is willing to be more creative and willing to take a risk, which is to give Travis a chance to do this, then I think, that's a little different. Nobody's ever tried to do what Travis Hunter is doing, but it's important to note that nobody has done in college football what Travis Hunter has done. And this brings me back. I was watching Winning Time, and there's a great intro on Winning Time. John C. Reilly does a great job. And he's talking about how a lot of limitations for humans, it's up here, right? It's not really a physical limitation. We just tell ourselves that there's a physical limitation there, and we just go by it, right? The thing I admire about Travis Hunter is his whole life, he has been told at some point he's going to have to choose offense or defense, right? When he went to Jackson State, I bet people were telling him, all right, now that you're in college, you got to play one side or the other. Even though you're a 5-star playing in the FCS, you got to make that decision. He didn't. He played both sides. Okay, went to the Power 5. People pressed him, said the same exact thing. He didn't fold. He decided to do it, and he did it at such a high level. He won the Heisman Trophy, the Biletnikoff, and he was the best corner in the country. So my whole point with Travis Hunter is, if we're looking at this and trying to project it based on everything else that we've seen before, and going back to that John C. Reilly intro, he's talking about the 4-minute mile. And for 2,000 years, since we invented the measurement of the mile, human beings told ourselves, nobody can run a mile faster than 4 minutes. One day, somebody decides that they can run that mile in 4 minutes. And they work hard and they finally achieve it. They run that 4-minute mile. And you know what happened 46 days later after that guy ran that 4-minute mile that people thought was impossible, right? Under a 4-minute mile. For 2,000 years, people thought running under a 4-minute mile was impossible. That guy breaks that record. 46 days later, somebody else runs a sub 4-minute mile. Sometimes we don't think things can be done because we simply have never tried. The thing with Travis Hunter is we've never really tried this before, right? And I think if somebody is willing to give this a try, if it's ever going to work out, it's going to be with that dude. Like Travis Hunter is going to be the guy who could break the mold. And that's what I mean when I talk about Travis Hunter and I say, hey, it depends on how creative a team is willing to get. Because if you aren't creative, you're like me and you like traditional, and Ty probably thinks the same way, right? If you like traditional thinking, you're probably thinking of with the number 2 pick, the Browns should take a quarterback or Abdul Carter. Because we know why a quarterback's important. Doesn't take any imagination to understand that. We know why a edge rusher is important. Doesn't take any imagination to understand that. And we know that Abdul Carter is a really good edge rusher. Doesn't take imagination. Just turn on Penn State. Watch it. He's really good. So that is the conventional way of thinking. But I'm not going to discount that if you're willing to think about this in a different way, if you're willing to break the mold a little bit, right? Be a little bit more revolutionary with your thinking. You could look at Travis Hunter and say, why couldn't he do it? We can manage his snaps. We just need him to be a factor on both third downs. He has incredible cardio, incredible work ethic. He's a talented enough player. He can catch the ball at a high level. If he can become a two-way player, and look, he doesn't have to play 1,000 snaps on each side of the ball, but if he can give you third downs on each side of the ball, plus a little bit more, then he's your most important player. Is it that hard to play two ways in the NFL, especially at two positions that don't really get hit that much, right? Wide receiver these days, not the most physical position in the NFL. Still a level of physicality there, right? But it's not like you're asking him to play linebacker and running back where he's going to be taking blows and blows. He's going to be playing wide receiver where, half the time he's not even getting the ball. The other half of the time, if he catches it, he can run out of bounds. And like a quarter amount of time, he's going to get hit. And then on the other side of the ball, playing corner, about 35% of the time, he's going to be asked to go in on a tackle. So it's not like it's going to be the most physically, from a NFL physical standpoint, the most demanding position he can play. There is concern about, hey, having to exert yourself, right? You're going to have to run super fast to cover these guys on both sides of the ball. Is he capable of doing that? But hell, let's see if he can do it. I might not be creative enough to fully envision how Travis Hunter could change things and be this revolutionary player. But I have seen enough from him in college football to where I'm not going to discount the possibility of it. He was the best player in college football last year. He was impactful. His presence, him being healthy, is the difference between Colorado being this sub-bowl eligible, mediocre mess of a football team and them being a 9-win team. Just him alone. One guy made that much of a difference in Colorado. I truly believe that. Did Shedeur help? Yeah, but I don't know how good Shedeur would have looked if Travis Hunter wasn't there to catch those passes, to take 4-yard passes and run them into the end zone. I wouldn't discount him. It's never been done before. He would be doing something for the first time, but Travis Hunter, this wouldn't be the first time he's doing something that's never been done before. I don't count dudes like that out. You know what I mean? That's my thing. That's why I'll caution people on Travis, right? I think the injury concern is real with him, but I wouldn't count the dude out, man. I really wouldn't. Every step of the way, people have told him he can't do this at this level, and he's done it. And he seems to believe he can do it at the next level. And you know what? That's the kind of mindset that usually leads to somebody changing shit. So he might be able to change how we look at this whole thing and how we look at two-way players. And and he's a good enough corner and a good enough wide receiver that if he doesn't work out playing both sides of the ball, he's still going to be worth the draft pick, or has a chance to be worth the draft pick on one side of the ball alone. So, no, I don't really like a lot of this disrespect I'm seeing of Travis Hunter amongst Browns fans. I think y'all should give him a chance, man, because like I wouldn't be mad at it at all. The more I think about it, the more I think it can work, to be honest with you. John says this: didn't see a single throw in the Cam Ward film breakdown that Will Howard hasn't made.
Good boy, son.
I like Will Howard. I went on record and said Will Howard is my favorite quarterback to watch of this draft class. Don't lie. Don't lie, dog. I'm telling you right now, there's like 20 throws in there that Cam Ward has made that Will Howard has no shot of making. The difference between Cam Ward's arm talent and Will Howard's arm talent is significant. It is significant. I don't know why it is that you feel like there wasn't that much of a difference, but I promise you, if you look at the speed of how that ball's getting there, the carry of how that ball's getting, the drive of the football to get there, he is making throws that Will Howard is certainly just incapable of making. There are like a million of those in there. And look, I've been on record. Cam Ward, not my favorite style of prospect. Not a big fan. Will Howard is kind of like the kind of quarterback style that I like. Like, I like boring quarterbacks who make good decisions on down and distance, but like, let's not trip. Let's not lead that to make us lie. So that first sentence, I'm sorry. Before I even go through the whole thing here, John, I got to call that out. That is a blatant lie. It's easy to pick a few plays, of course, throughout the season, find a highlight, what is good, what is bad for every player. It is how often you can replicate the good and bad and eliminate the bad. I could find a packet of plays for whoever the lowest graded QB is and have them look amazing. Conversely, you can find some of the head scratchers from Pat Mahomes. It all boils down to consistency for young guys who's coachable. Give me Will Howard in later rounds. But even if not him, please don't take a quarterback at 2. While I agree with your sentiment, I don't agree with the math that you used to get there, especially like pertaining to Will himself. Because Will Howard is not necessarily a great consistency argument either, because the bulk of what makes you excited about Will Howard is how inconsistent his regular season was from his great postseason run. So there's a question of like, who is it that you're getting there? So if we're worried about consistency, that has to be part of the Will Howard conclusion as well. And again, this is coming from somebody who does like Will Howard, but I'm not going to be unfair to Cam Ward just because I like Will Howard. So yeah, I agree the Browns shouldn't take a quarterback at 2, and I agree that consistency does matter. But applying these things to Will Howard when consistency is certainly a question, comparing Will Howard's arm strength to Cam Ward when that is just objectively false, it feels like tearing down Cam just to build up Will when I don't think that's necessary. You're not going to go from deciding if you want Cam Ward or not to taking Will Howard. These are two different tiers of quarterbacks in this class, and I think they do belong in these two different tiers, in these two different buckets. I would never take Will Howard where people are talking about taking Cam Ward, for good reason, right? Consistency is a part of that. Again, Will Howard, he's really only showed what you needed to see from the quarterback that makes you excited over that last 4 weeks of his college football career, whereas Cam Ward, he does have, at least he's consistent in how he plays, at least. He does have like 3 years as a starter of being somebody who is considered a plus level guy. So yeah, I like Will Howard, but I don't love how we kind of drag some lies in there about Cam Ward to try to make that point. I don't think that's necessary. If you don't want the Browns to take a quarterback at 2, I think that argument explains itself. I don't think you need to lie about Will Howard to make that argument. Jared says also, I have to say, this dude has the ability to dig himself. He's talking about Cam Ward. Out of holes he digs. He led the Hurricanes on multiple game-winning drives in the fourth quarter this year. I want someone that wins. That's it. We deserve that. Sure, right? Did Cam Ward dig himself out of the holes that he dug himself into? Yeah. But did Cam Ward's penchant to dig himself into holes create the reason why he was in the Pop-Tart Bowl instead of the playoffs? Absolutely. That is the concern. Also, it's one thing to dig yourself out of the holes that you dig for yourself in college. Being able to do that in the NFL is a whole different story. This is why I have significant concerns about Cam Ward's style of play translating to the NFL and Cam Ward's habits translating positively to the NFL. The one thing I cannot have from a quarterback I draft number 2 overall that's played 5 seasons is for him to be as bad at situational football as Cam Ward has demonstrated that he is in his final year of college. That's a basic thing you expect him to be much better at. The other stuff you might be able to work on, him being on time, you might be able to work on. But again, a lot of the stuff Cam Ward's been needing to work on for a while, and it hasn't changed throughout his career, which makes me concerned about if this is something that he's going to be able to address on a significant enough level to make the transition to the NFL. Yeah, that's really the conversation with Cam here. Josh says here, I would be interested to see a retrospective breakdown on a QB like Mahomes or Allen in college compared to one of these prospects. I admit I had no frame of reference for them as college prospects to know if this is normal or not. I don't think Cam Ward is comparable to Pat Mahomes, even if we're just looking at him in that narrow box as a prospect. Now, to be fair, I wasn't doing this job in 2017, right? I was just a fan. But Mahomes, even if you go back and look at his college stuff, one, the natural gifts there for Mahomes are significantly greater than Cam Ward. And the situational football stuff wasn't really a problem with Mahomes. It was more or less a question of can he be consistently accurate, because he had these spurts of inaccuracy at Texas Tech. Josh Allen was just a straight up raw prospect, and that's another thing to consider. Pat Mahomes was 3 years in college football, so about 21 when he came out. Josh Allen was 21 when he came out. Cam Ward is 23, and Cam Ward has played 5 seasons of football versus 2 seasons for Josh Allen and 2 seasons for Pat Mahomes. So there's a level of rawness that you're willing to take from a guy who's 21 in his 3rd year of playing high-level football versus somebody who's played it for 5 seasons. So I think that's a big difference there, too. The tool set for Mahomes and Allen's just completely different than what it is for Cam Ward. Cam Ward's tools are more in line, but still lesser than somebody like Zach Wilson has better tools than Cam Ward, but he's in that similar range that Cam Ward is in. I don't think Cam Ward's natural tools are anywhere close to Mahomes in college or Josh Allen. Josh Allen, 6'5", can run like a deer. That's not what Cam Ward bringing to the table. Pat Mahomes has the greatest arm we've ever seen. That's not close to where Cam Ward is. Cam Ward has a pretty cool arm for this draft class, and I think that's more aligned with where Zach Wilson is. So you can look at it like that, right? And even if you do look at him like a Mahomes project-style quarterback, Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen are the rare exceptions to doing that, right? Oftentimes when you go for the big toolsy guy who's super raw, that can easily be Zach Wilson. That can easily be Blake Bortles. That can easily be Deshaun Kaiser. That can easily be somebody like Trey Lance is a great example, right? Anthony Richardson is an example. We don't know what the result of that one is yet. But again, when you go for these toolsy guys, yeah, Mahomes and Allens are always going to be in the back of your mind. But oftentimes it ends up the other way. And also the potential of these guys as tools aren't on Mahomes or Allen's level, right? Like that's not where Cam Ward sits. He's not Mahomes, Allen level tools guy. Like I think the last guy who was that was Anthony Richardson when he came out of Florida, because the tools are just incredible. Once in a generation, like kind of speed for a guy that fast. But nonetheless, I don't think these two are very similar. Let's go ahead from John, who says, I heard the Baker comp for Cam Ward before, and I think it's pretty fair. He definitely has NFL-level arm talent and accuracy, but he's too inconsistent. He does make some really impressive throws, but people are focusing too much on his highlight reel and ignoring the rest of the tape. I think the most likely outcome for Cam Ward is he'll have a lot of ups and downs like Baker does, which can be exciting at times, but almost certainly turns out to be a massive letdown at the end. I think Cam Ward sits firmly in where I think Baker Mayfield sits. Like Baker Mayfield, I think is at the high end of this spectrum. But I like to call it the Jay Cutler realm, right? And that's where Cam Ward sits. Cam Ward's like, I think he'll be around what Jay Cutler was. Jay Cutler, tremendous arm, really nonchalant dude, but could never be the reason his team was a consistent winner. Was never really a catalyst to tremendous team success. He was always good enough to be a starting quarterback. And I think Cam Ward has the potential to be that level of player. I don't think Jay Cutler is his ceiling. I think maybe where Baker Mayfield is today could be Cam Ward's ceiling or something similar to that. Obviously your floor is your floor. Your floor is being out the NFL. But yeah, with Cam, I think he's in that Jay Cutler range that I think Baker Mayfield was in. Inconsistent decision maker, inconsistently accurate. Sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's not. Can make some tremendous throws, super nonchalant. Like Baker Mayfield, Jay Cutler, I think that's a good comp for him. Somewhere in between those two. But that's it for the hot takes. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have you a better night. Peace.